So, Elle, all along in our podcast, since we've started, I think you and I on our hearts has been this notion that there are things that we can make choices around to live life well. What
Mm.
does it look like to live life well, to live
Mm-hmm.
life brave, strong, and fulfilled?
Yeah.
And yet we also, in the realness of life,
Mm.
realize that this is often, not easy.
No, it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And how for me, I've experienced quite often over the years the sense of overwhelm in what's happening in life. And
Mm.
so you and I have often over the months that we've been partnering on our podcast, we've shared how fortunate we both feel about being in this coaching space and
Mm.
having the tools that we've learned and that we get to practice. We get to share them with others. We
Mm-hmm.
are in the trenches with our clients using these tools every day. So for you and I, we recognize over and over that there are some foundations that
Yeah.
we've got access to, that when we feel, like it talks about, you've all heard it, you've shared it, I think, when life gets chaotic and you feel like you're tossed on the waves,
Yeah.
and you want to kind of reach for that life-saving ring,
Mm-hmm.
what is that ring that you reach for?
Mm.
And we've recognized that there are some foundations that if we know what they are, they're
Mm.
always there, that we can reach for them
Yeah.
in those moments when life just feels like it's getting away from us.
Yeah. Agreed. And here's the key though. We've got to remember to reach for them and not just continue. And because that's it. I already said it a few seconds ago, easier said than done, but we often forget, right? Even when we're in the space and we're sharing with our clients, and sometimes I'll be like, oh wow, I feel like I'm getting tossed with the waves. I'm like, hang on a second. I feel like I've been here before. And so then this is where this comes into play, that there are some key strategies, some key places that we can go to check that our foundation, I mean,
Mm,
our foundation beyond this is that we have a firm foundation in Christ. Obviously, we're both believers. We both have faith. But there are things that in order to partner with a higher faith, we still got something to do. We
yeah.
can't just do nothing and just keep continually getting tossed with the waves. There are things that we can do. And so that is where we're excited today, is to go, okay, well, what is my part? What can I do? What are some key foundations? What are the strategies to help us on this journey? And remember to reach out and grab the lifeline, the little, yeah,
Yeah, to live, what we call brave, strong, and fulfilled.
yeah,
And so, we're excited if you're listening that Ali and I have partnered over the last few weeks in the
yeah.
background to create this course where
Mm,
we've got five of these lifelines. So
yeah.
there are more than five, but we've, have been having conversation around what are the five that feel like they're the foundations. If
Mm.
we've got these five on our radar, and you get to that moment of recognizing, oh my goodness, I feel a bit like out of my depth or tossed here, that we can reach for any of these five. And there's no right or wrong, it's no formula, it's just knowing about these and
Mm.
knowing where to find them is so
Mhm.
handy.
Mm.
And so for both of us, it's helping you and I that we know where to go and find them now because we've put them all in one place in this
Yes.
mini e-course. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And we actually touched on it in our conversation last week on some of the content that's within the course, didn't we? And things like, because we were talking last week about being in the floods, in the circumstances of life where we have no control on the circumstances. And yet here we are, things aren't turning out how we thought they would be so far in the year. And we've already been drawing on these
That is
foundations.
true. That is true. Now that I'm just sort of sitting here thinking, oh, which ones? But you're absolutely so right.
There was
We
at
did touch
least
on.
two of them.
Uh, yes, so we thought what we'd do today is we'd just share a bit with our audience here about
Mm.
what these foundations are and just share some, story of what this looks like in real life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but if you're listening and you're thinking, gosh, you would really like to know, more
More.
about each of them, We'd love for you to join our membership. So
Mhm.
our membership, there's either a monthly investment or an annual investment. It's not onerous. We've made it, available to hopefully as many of people as possible.
Yeah.
And this course is free for all our members inside the
Yeah.
membership because we'd like for all our members to be able to dip in and out of it, to come
Mm.
back to that remembering because, we all need reminders.
We all
I
need
think that's the
reminders.
bottom line today, isn't it?
We do.
Yeah.
I need reminders regularly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
in that,
Al,
yeah,
yeah.
what were you going to say? Sorry, I'm talking over the top of you.
Yeah, well, should we start sharing? What are these firm foundations? So potentially, what are the ones we
Oh.
touched on last week?
So last week when we were talking about the news and what we were paying attention to, we were talking about the last one that we covered in the course, and it's where's your focus?
Yeah.
And that sounds simple. Oh yeah, of course, focus. But there's so much insight to be gained from where we are focusing.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're feeling, sort of tossed in the waves and you're grabbing
Mm,
for the lifeline of where's my focus, even just asking yourself in that moment,
yeah.
what have I got my eyes on here? Kind of gives your foot something to kind of
Yeah.
plant your foot on to go, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So now that there's that awareness of, oh, maybe I'm focusing where it's not helpful.
Mm,
And then remembering, well, there's a choice here, you know?
yeah.
And even so when you get into the mini course, you'll realize that a lot of these foundations are interlinked. And
Mm,
so that even that question of, well, where's my choice here? There is a choice of where am I focusing, which was the last one we
mm.
cover. But it kind of circles back to the first one we spoke about.
100%. And we have a choice every single day. And off air before we were talking, and you were telling me this funny story, Cap. And I think everybody will be able to relate. And I think it would be a perfect example of the fact that we have choice, even when we're in the car driving to church. Do you want to tell us your story?
Oh my goodness me, I don't even know where to start. And so I think I'll start with saying sorry, Greg, and sorry, Matthew, before I start. So yeah, so our youngest came and visited us over the weekend, which was just fabulous. I think by the time this airs, it was like 2 weekends ago or a bit more. But anyway, he came and visited, and there was an offer to, put on the table by me, would you like to join us to go to
Mm,
church? And so one thing I do know about myself, one of the values
mm,
I have is I value time and being on time for things. And I like to arrive on time
mhm,
for church because then that means I can go in and we are such creatures of habit. And hubby and I habitually sit sort of more or less within the same 3 rows on the same side each week, which is
mhm,
crazy, I know. But if there's any hope of those seats being available, we need to
mm,
get there just a few minutes, early. So I know in my head what a good time is to leave home to get there
mm.
so that we can sit, sit where I'm choosing to sit. And
Yeah.
so this is not how Sunday played out. And so Sunday, and look, we weren't too far off, but anyway, we ended up it just thrilled my heart that Matthew decided that he was going to spend this time with us and come
Mm,
along with us. Because the other thing in my mind was, oh, if he chooses not to come, then I think we all won't go because, what was most
mm,
important, overarching was the time that we had with him and the connection with him. And anyway, it all worked out. He said he'd come. And so we got in the car 5 minutes later than
later.
what my mind is kind of, control freak.
Yeah.
That control freak is coming out. Anyway, and then we on our way down the road, and when we got to the end of our street, the street we live on, there's a traffic circle. And usually we go right around that circle to
Mm,
join the highway, and the
mm.
highway is the quickest way into church. And hubby takes a left. And inside, I'm just like right in that moment going, what are you doing? Why are you going? And I actually said it. I said, oh, where are we going? I thought we were
Yeah.
going that way. And he said, oh, no, he thought he will take the scenic route, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're already late now, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I don't even want to go anymore. Like I'm
Mhm,
just so like I want to throw my toys and I don't want to go anymore. And
mhm.
in that moment, I had this unusual light bulb of wisdom. And maybe it's because we had just been busy with this course and busy putting this course
Perhaps.
together that it was sort of at the surface of my thinking. But I recognized in this moment, I have a choice.
Yeah.
And the choice is, am I going to go down the pathway of controlling and being all upset that my plans that I have so perfectly wanted to have happen are
Mm-hmm.
not happening? And
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I go into that place, the words that come out of my mouth just create this very narky atmosphere.
It's not pretty.
Not pretty, no. And, or I could choose in that moment. The other option was just to let it all go. Just let it go and just go, you know what?
Wow.
We've got the privilege of we're an empty nest now, privilege of our adult son in the car with us. It's a beautiful day. We are going the scenic route through
Through
beautiful
Adelaide.
country,
Oh,
through the hills.
yeah.
And so what if we get there late? And you know what? So what if we don't get there at all?
Mm.
And so in that moment, I just made the decision to let it all go,
Wow.
which for me was big.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a new experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was so, I don't know why I was so surprised, but the joy that came from, the atmosphere in the car was still, it didn't turn knocky. We had great conversation. We noticed things down the hill. We got to church, and I was so like my heart was just so full that when we got down
Mm.
there, recognizing that it was me, I'm the one that could so easily have completely butchered that whole experience and turned
Yeah.
it into this narky, just unpleasant,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and what for,
And
really?
who would have won?
Yep,
Mm.
nobody.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Oh, I love that story. And what also stood out to me in that story is the awareness of your values in there, is that you value time. And so time is something, and I hear that completely, because that is something that happens in my household regularly, that I want to be somewhere on time, and on time in my house growing up was a few minutes early.
yeah,
And so, and the turmoil that it creates, and we always have that choice. What do we
yeah.
want to do with that? How do we want to sit with that? Because if it's not somebody else's values, if going the scenic route and having a conversation is more somebody else's values, and so that is another conversation that we pull apart in our
It
um
is, yeah,
course, isn't it?
in our
Because we
course,
talk
yeah,
about our values and how they intertwine with absolutely everything that we think and we do, and it happens. Every person has values. Some are more
yeah,
people's values are different according to them and how they're
yeah.
created and what's important to them, but sometimes there is a bit of a clash. And sometimes, yeah, so that's an interesting, when you're telling that story, I was like, oh, there's a clash of values there.
Yeah, and it was so I'm so grateful that in that instant there was this realization that yes, I value time,
Mm,
but actually there's something far greater that I value as well in that space, and that is relationship,
yeah,
with
with your
with our
husband.
family and and our children. And
Yeah.
I think that flows over to one of the other things we cover in our
Mm,
course, which is around
mm,
our core needs and this need to control.
mm.
We all have this inwired need for certainty and to control certain things. And yet when that need overtakes the value,
Yeah,
it's so easy for us to, if we're not aware, just to let that happen. And then
yeah,
we end up upset because none of our values are then met and we've just butchered everything. But
yeah.
recognizing that there's also control in choice. So even the choice to let go
Mm,
of needing, like to be on time doesn't mean I'm letting go of control. I'm
mm,
just choosing something different. And
yeah,
so there is still that sense of, there's a choice to be made here.
yeah,
So it's fascinating how all these things overlap and are interlinked and do really, provide us with some firm foundations. And
mm,
I think I'm so grateful to finally at this stage in my life understand what they are.
yeah,
And I remember learning them for the first time. I mean, I learned heard about them for the first time in my 40s, now in my 50s, finally getting to kind of, implementing them in my life more easily. But I was
Mm,
thinking, gosh, why wasn't I never taught this before? Why
mm,
has it taken so many years just to have clarity and to be able to clearly see these, at least these five that we share in the course, these five firm foundations,
mm,
because goodness me, they come up every day in some shape or form, and being able to practice grabbing that like lifeline
mm,
uh, over the months has just sort of, I'm experiencing that life is less chaotic, life is less tossed by the waves,
yeah,
and it's something we can all do.
yeah,
It's we can all practice these things. We can
yeah,
all decide to figure out what these things are for each and every one of us, because they're not the same. That
no,
the foundation pieces, the awareness around them is the same,
they're
but
the
what
same.
they mean, the context for each and every one of us will look a bit different.
Yeah, agree.
And it's been such a joy to finally kind of go, oh, okay, you know what? This is paying off. It is making a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people around us probably notice too it's paying off.
Hopefully. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And so what are our topics for our foundation? We've spoken about we've got a choice, and we've got the power of choice, and we've got many podcasts around that as well. I think
Yeah.
one's titled "We Always Have a Choice" because we always have a choice, but there's nothing quite like getting the meat of it and really learning what that looks like. And you shared it so beautifully today. It's in the small things. We have a choice in all areas of our life, no matter what the circumstances. There's always a choice. And we talked about the values and our core needs and where's our focus. And the one other thing we talk about is our meanings and the beliefs that we have from the meanings we give, especially for when we're a kid. So our meanings and beliefs play a huge impact in how we see
Yeah,
the
and
world today.
as I listen to you share here, I'm also reminded of when I first learned about these foundations. And I think what was so life-giving to me in that moment, we
Mm,
talk about going where the life is. If you want to go where the life is, join our mini course, because these foundations, I remember thinking, they made so much sense in how they
mm,
were taught to us. So hopefully we've taught them also in a way that just makes so much
mm,
sense to the everyday person. And when you recognize that they make so much sense and they are true for all of us, they impact all of us. And I remember this having thoughts of, oh, okay, so this is not me that's broken. This is not me that has something wrong or me that needs fixing. This is how our brains work. This is how we've been created. This is gives us as you say, our part to play. So our part to play
mm,
is if we partner in understanding these foundations so that we can be aware of the choices we can make.
mm.
And, even in unpacking the beliefs, it was quite confronting. And I think you share this in the course, recognizing that your beliefs are not actually necessarily the truth.
Yeah. Agreed. I honestly, that was one of the biggest light bulbs I had in the coaching in my learnings a few years ago, was that my thoughts aren't necessarily true. Like, and it seems silly now for me to think that perhaps they were, but I had so many thoughts growing up, and for some reason I just assumed them all to be true.
Yeah,
And that's just the natural way that we grow up. We have these, we speak to ourselves more than anybody else does, and more than we speak to other people. It's our own thoughts and the language that we use and the stories we tell, we start to believe, and they become wholeheartedly truths. And until we
yeah,
challenge that, it gave me such great insight to me, who I am as a woman. And I
yeah,
just loved this, exploring all of this information, because it just helped me to understand who I am, what, you know, what causes me to tick, what I enjoy, because I'd never really thought about it before coaching. I had no idea really what I liked.
yeah.
if someone said, what do you want to do, Al? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Just,
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
you
that was
know,
me to the T. Yeah.
and I know
And
a
I
lot of,
think, yeah. No, go for it.
I was just going to say, and some people that might not be a problem. A lot of people might really know what they want, and but there's something in this for everybody. We are all wired a little bit differently. However, we're all human. We all have this same natural human experience, and there's something for us all to learn, I believe, in this
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I loved how you touch on, the identity piece, because
Mm,
I think that's what these foundations gave me. They gave me a much more grounded sense of who I am and sense of
yeah.
identity. And I think prior to learning all of these, I had tried to live so much of my life trying to be somebody
Mm,
without even knowing who that was.
yeah.
I would kind of look to others for
Who
who
you
they
should
thought I
be.
should be. Yeah.
Mm,
And I didn't even know where to begin on this journey of figuring out, but who am I really?
mm,
And it just, in my brain, it fell into that space of, oh, that's wishy-washy fluff kind of, that's not concrete black and white, which
no.
I much preferred. Give me numbers,
Hmm. Hmm.
And yet making the journey through these tools to work out what this means for me and coming out the other end with a much clearer sense of identity
Yeah.
has really, I think that's the starting point if we want to live brave, strong, and fulfilled, you know?
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah,
because there's one common denominator, ourselves. We're with us wherever we go, whatever we do. And if we can get some insight and understanding and compassion and grace for ourselves,
yeah.
goodness me, we'll be on a much better path towards living brave, strong, and fulfilled.
Yeah, and for 2025 being a fantastic year, even in spite of the fact that our external circumstances might feel like that
Yeah.
doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're really excited that
Hmm.
after a couple of weeks of thinking and planning that we've put this together
Yeah.
and it's there available in our Brave, Strong and Fulfilled membership.
Hmm.
And we would love for as many people to join us on this journey,
Yeah.
because we've only got this one chance at life. And so
Yeah.
I don't know about you listening, but we know that we
Want to do
want,
it well.
yeah, we want to do it well.
Mm.
And we're sure that you do too. So
Yeah. And enjoy the journey.
yeah,
Agreed. And so if you were to join the membership, what that can look like is this course, and there's other resources in there, resources from all of our, from quite a few different podcasts inside the membership. But what I also love, Kath, is our monthly conversations. And
yeah,
it's having conversations and having some coaching around issues that are on the heart of our members, and being with like-minded people. We're in
yeah,
one space. We all hop on a call together, and we share what's going on and get some coaching if that's the way the conversation goes. And it's such a great space to be. So I'd encourage anybody who's looking for community, who's looking for like-minded people, who are looking for some encouragement, jump in. I know you'll love it. There's some great women in here, and so yeah, we really want to invite you in.
yeah. No, because we certainly are enjoying the members that have arrived
Mm.
in the space with us. It's just a pleasure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah. So the link will be in the show notes. If you're interested in joining us, jump on in. The course will be there. You'll be able to find it. And yeah, but please reach out if there's ever questions, if there's ever something on your heart that you would like to reach out to Kath or myself. We'd love to hear from you. We
Yeah.
love to hear from our listeners. So don't be scared, don't be shy. Send us an email. Let us know how we can support you on your journey.
Great. Thanks, Al. And I'll see you next week.
Sounds like a plan. Catch ya.